Ow. Whew. Sleep all kinds of crazy. All right, folks. We are back to our regularly scheduled crazy. I don't know what you'd call it, but regularly scheduled program, I guess. Yeah, so probably not going to make it all the way through this video. It's like an hour and a half of Genius Boy talking about what is it like debating atheists? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. So you have to put a lot of question marks behind it because it's a really big question. I don't know. I need to go grab some coffee because I'm not all here. But this is not D-Roy. This is we're back on G-Man because you know what? I'm going to forget to do this video. So while D-Roy finally figures out that, you know what, even if you unsubscribe from someone, you can still kind of see their content, he'll figure it out eventually. But so let me roll the G intro that you all love so much, and then we'll talk about whatever the fuck it is that he's going. I've not listened to this. I have no idea. I know he's going to mention me and other people, but whatever. So we gonna find out. We also might play a little game called Watch Steve McRae Lie. And so there's some information that I found out from somebody. It's not to do with the recent litigation stuff. It's something else. But there's some information that I found out from a previous subscriber that Steve McRae had went out and just lied to a bunch of folks. Beyond that of which I already knew. So I want to try a little experiment. I'm going to replay a video later and play a lie from Steve McRae, and then when people ask him about said lie, he is going to lie again. But when he does, I already have the receipts showing that he knows what the truth is. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be very interesting because I get to demonstrate in real time that Steve can't tell the truth. He has a hard time with that. So I know some of his dick suckers like to watch this, and a lot of people who don't like him watch this. But this is not news to a lot of people. But you know, Nick $400 suitor is kind of incredulous. I guess when your head is that far up Steve's ass, it's hard to see the light of day. Trying to ascertain people's mental state on the internet is a tough job. Staying on Twitter all day is also a very tough job for him. So he can only do so much, folks. He can only do so much. So it is what it is. Let's get that intro though.
The announcement is this. I'm going to be doing a Google Hangout next Friday. Not today, but next Friday. And that particular Google Hangout will be focused on primarily one thing. I'm asking everyone to bring their own personal rap to this particular Google Hangout.
I'm going to expose myself on YouTube. I'm going to make a YouTube video embarrassing myself.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, I got to tell you about the fabulous, most groovy
G-Man. G-Man.
You know you're breaking the law right now.
I will stomp a mud hole in you, sir.
I am not playing, Dragnet.
My name is G-Man. You got the audacity. You're going to jail. You got the audacity. My name is G-Man. You got the audacity. That's all I got to say. You got the audacity. I stole $3,000. You got the audacity. You got the audacity. Because you don't got no evidence. My name is G-Man. My name is G-Man.
So big can this guy be?
My name is G-Man. My name is G-Man.
You can't beat me in fighting. You can't beat me in chemistry. You can't beat me in biology. You can't even walk better than me. You can't outrun me. Dude, you can't even out-talk me.
Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey City. G-Man, you got the order. That's all I got to say. You got the audacity. I stole $3,000. You got the audacity. Audacity. You got the audacity. Because you don't got no evidence.
My name is G-Man. G-Man. My name is G-Man.
So big can this guy be?
My name is G-Man. G-Man. My name is G-Man. G-Man.
You can't beat me in fighting. You can't beat me in chemistry. You can't beat me in biology. You can't even walk better than me. You can't outrun me. Dude, you can't even out-talk me. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey City.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Preaching to the Choir Ministries.
Whoop. I wasn't too quick on the draw that time. Sorry, I was just walking back with my coffee. Taking my goddamn time. So, let me get the chair ready. I had to change around a bunch of stuff because I had the images all of like D-Roy and Discord and all a bunch of stupid shit. So, there we go. How y'all doing this morning? Man, oh man, I looked at some of my subscriptions because when I have a link to go directly to the live dashboard on YouTube. I don't have a regular YouTube link. If you actually look at the top of my let me see if I can show y'all actually. Yeah, so if you look at the top of my bookmarks here, let me see if I can hover over it. Yeah, it says live. I don't have a regular YouTube link. I have the live dashboard link. So when you click on that, and you can see my stream key, you'll actually see different panels. And one of those panels shows you like new subscribers and shit like that. And every so often, I'll catch it changing. I said, hold on for a second. There's something looks a little fishy here. I said, huh. Did I delete the screenshot? I might have. I had a picture of Stizor in here. Oh God, no. Yeah, okay, I might have deleted the pic. But I've gained some interesting subscribers recently. I'll say that. Some very interesting subscribers. People who previously didn't fuck with me. They only talk shit about me behind closed doors. It's only where people would talk about it with me in private. But, that's interesting. Very interesting how things change. That's all I have to say. That's all I got to say. That's all. But I won't bust you out. You know who you are. It's fine. It's fine. People shit on me, then they realize that they're wrong. They come back and kumbaya, all that bullshit. It's life. It's life. I don't actually hate any of these people. Some of them I think are just fucking stupid. There are a lot of people I think are fucking stupid. A lot of people. But show must go on, right? So, what you got to say today, G-Man?
Can actually prove with any.
Whoops.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to GTV. I am G-Man, your host, and today I just want to talk about very briefly what is it like to debate an atheist. But before I do this, I just want to let everybody know that the next video after this one, I'll be continuing my series on intelligent design and why I prefer intelligent design over the theory of evolution, mainly because there's no science to back up evolution. And some people will say, well, you know, G-Man, you don't understand biology enough to be able to say something like that. But I've debated quite a few of these evolutionists, and I've shown my concerns, and I've seen how none of them can actually prove with any real proof that their theory is actually true. But today, this is all about me talking about from my own subjective opinion. And it is subjective because other people might say other things. But what is it like to debate an atheist?
I'll give G-Man some credit. I don't usually do this. Let me give G-Man some credit. He is actually being honest here. He knows that this is just his if it's your opinion, then we know it's subjective. That's kind of redundant, but whatever, right? It's your subjective opinion. So we already know to discard it. So thank you, G-Man, for being honest.
And I'm not just talking about on YouTube. I'm talking about face to face because I've done that. And what's it like? Just debating them in general, from my perspective. The number one thing that many of these atheists claim that they like to debate is whether or not God exists. They claim that if you meet their burden of proof, they will believe that God exists and they'll be just like me, which is not true, because to be like me, you have to receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Believing that God exists doesn't make you a Christian, But I would liken it to, let's say, for example, you yourself happen to be a person that believes that gravity exists, right? I mean, you believe that gravity is real. I believe that gravity is real. But imagine walking up to one of these people and and saying to them, well, I don't believe in gravity. See, they'll look at you like you're crazy. They'll say you're dumb, stupid. You don't know anything about science. You didn't go to school. And if you go back to school, and then just repeat the words that you hear in front of your teacher, then you'll believe that gravity exists. Without them really understanding that you have your own opinions about the whole gravity issue. Now, I'm not saying that I don't believe in gravity. I believe that gravity is a real thing, and I believe that gravity exists. All right. I'm not saying that I don't believe in gravity. I do. I have my reasons that I believe that gravity exists. It might not be the reasons that you have, but I have my reasons to believe that gravity is real and that it exists. But just for the sake of the example, what the conversation is, it's kind of like going to an atheist when they say to you, where's your proof that God exists? It's kind of like me going up to them saying, well, how do you know gravity's real? You see, most people in the world don't know how to answer that question. Only the experts do, the scientists or people who have studied the topic.
Okay, let me stop you there. You know what? I'll try and be as charitable as I can to G-Man here. Many people who, repeat the same things that everyone should know as far as our knowledge of science simply believe it on the trust they have in experts. Yes, absolutely. A lot of people don't even know how their own microwave works. Sure, just for the sake of argument, I'm willing to definitely agree. Most people cannot tell you how gravity actually works. That's something that's beyond their purview. That's perfectly fine. But most of them kind of know the difference between saying, well, you know what? You can measure gravity. We know that there's a certain rate at which objects, things, including us, will be pulled toward the earth. I think it's like 9.8 meters per second squared. Someone feel free to correct me, but I think that's close. I want to say the units are meters per second squared. Again, anyway, sure. But the big difference here is, G-Man, that that you can measure gravity, you can study gravity, we can find that there are certain particles that we know that give things its mass, that when it passes through a particular field. So that's something that is fairly well understood, actually. That's even before all the technology that we have now, way before Planck, way before Cavendish and the Cavendish lab, like way before any of that stuff. There was ways to test this sort of thing, but not God. Not that God's not been in a test tube anywhere. So when you start to try and draw this comparison, you're talking about two different realms. And you know that, right? If you're talking about people's willingness just to accept it, just as a claim, no matter what the field is or how refutable it might be, I guess. But that's such a bland statement to me that it's almost worthless, really, in this conversation.
You can talk about what gravity is, how gravity works, and you can give a demonstration, something that you can test to see if gravity is real. Real test that you can show. But there's going to be an element of faith involved in it. And I know that when I ask the question. So if I go to anybody, I don't care what your religious beliefs is or your non-religious beliefs are, and I walk up to you and I say, well, gravity ain't real, you're going to laugh, you're going to think it's funny. And then I'm going to say to you, well, instead of laughing, show me why you believe that gravity is real. First thing they do is they give you a definition for what gravity is.
Oh, how do I know gravity is real? All right, well, here's some KY jelly. All right, there we go. Let me try it with a remote. Here's a remote control. All right, let's try it. Let's see. Man, that was hard. So, very, very, very simple things that you can do to determine whether gravity is true. Now, if the question is, well, right now, how do you know that it's 9.8 meters per second squared? That's an excellent motherfucking question. That can be tested. You can literally do math, some very simple math. You don't have to go to the Cavendish laboratories. And if you don't know why I'm mentioning Cavendish laboratories, then you might want to look up Cavendish laboratories. But you don't have to go through all that. You really don't. It's very simple experiments that kids can do. Actually, I say kids like middle school, high school kids, even middle school. You know, maybe not elementary school, but maybe not elementary school, but middle school. Yeah, they can do it. So. You know, but G-Man doesn't seem to understand that when people talk about the things that we use for evidence, he doesn't understand that mathematics, being its own type of logic, is something that we used and is very concrete. It's very, very universal. Doesn't matter what language you do math in. Math is going to be, 2 in Italian language, where the pepperoni and stuff is made. That's going to be the same quantity as here in good old US of A. They have a different word for the number 2, but it's the same thing. Same goddamn thing.
They explain how gravity works. They show you tests that you can do at home to see that gravity is a real thing. They can talk about the heliocentric model, our world, Earth relationship with the moon and with the sun. They can talk about those things. They can talk about how gravity on Jupiter and gravity on Earth are not necessarily the same, that the gravity on Jupiter will be greater than that here on Earth. They can talk about that all they want. Then I'm going to simply be like, well, I'm sorry, I wasn't there to see it, so I don't believe in it. Like why don't gravity just show up in front of me and then I'll believe it? You know what I mean? And what these atheists will do is that they'll be like, well, if your God just shows up, I'll believe that he exists. And I literally had one of them who live in the UK say to me, even if God showed up and had some tea with him, they still wouldn't believe that he's God because, what if they're in the Matrix? So that's one way you can look at it. Another way you can look at it is if I went to someone, right? And I said that I didn't believe the earth was round. I believed that the earth was flat, And I went to them and I said, I don't believe in a round earth. I believe in a flat earth, right? And these people will be like, wait a minute. You're 40-something years old and you don't believe that the earth is round? I'm like, okay, so show me your proof that the earth is round. Well, we have pictures. Okay, you're talking about, pictures that somebody could have painted or took a picture of and messed with it or whatever. That's not proof. I'm sorry. That's anecdotal. That's not real proof.
That's anecdotal, man. That's an anecdotal. You dodo. Oh man, he's been swallowing some flat earth pee lately. So I think I owe somebody money because I said that he was going to be a flat earther. I think before the summer. I forgot who it was. I think I owe you money or beer or something, but holy shit. We could be sitting on a cube. Say so somebody, let me get this timestamp for Kevin. There we go. Current timestamp, putting it in Discord. Let me tag Kevin. There we go. Anecdotal. Okay, so I just tagged Kevin with the approximate timestamp so you can get that. Maybe add it to the soundboard at his leisure. He is a busy man, okay? But my goodness, you have to wonder. You have to wonder if he's actually looked up any of this stuff, because there are experiments that you can do to kind of show, well, you know what? Let's say how do let's see, shape of Earth experiment. I know there's mathematics that you can do. Oh man, there's all types of videos. Is the Earth axis of Vsauce? Yeah. There is all types of videos. You know what? The best thing that I use, and I just remembered this. They were on the 17th. Hold on. My lab partner just texted me and is saying that we don't have class today. So I'm kind of relieved because I'd made my oh no, I think I know what I did. I so I don't procrastinate, I put the dates of stuff way before they're due to scare myself into fucking being productive. And so I think I forgot to put the actual date when shit's due. So that I'm fucking dumb. So I'm so smart, I fooled myself into being productive over the weekend. So one of like let me just I need to insert science education because people on the interwebs kind of forget the stuff that I actually do because I talk shit about people on the internet. They actually forget that I'm in a fucking lab half the goddamn week, but whatever. Doing shit that they can't do. I have to mention that because it upsets people when I mention what I actually do in real life. Be mad, bitches. Be mad. Because I'm smarter. Let me just go on a tangent. I read it wrong there. God damn you. I want to choke you. I read it wrong. They are today. I want to choke you right now. People are upset. Or is it 17? I'm about to reach through my phone and choke her. I'm going to let him talk while I look this up because me and her going to fight. She's a veteran. Don't worry. She can hold her own. She's Navy, but I'm a choker. She's playing with my emotions. You don't play with Big Worm's emotions. 10 points if you get that reference.
Proof that you have. Okay. So I believe the Earth is round because of the satellite images. I can make that image on my computer if you give me enough time to play around with it. Where's your proof that the Earth is round? And these people will be like, let me see something here. Talk to a scientist. Was that scientist did that scientist go outer space? Did he take any pictures? Will the pictures look a little bit different than the satellite imaging? You understand? Anybody can come to these conversations and shoot down another person's argument by playing stupid. And that is what it's like debating an atheist. They just find anything and everything to stop themselves from coming to the conclusion that God exists. It's like arguing with a human being whether or not gravity is real. It's like arguing with them whether or not we're breathing in air. And there are people walking on this earth that don't believe we're breathing in air. There are people that believe that they're living in a matrix. There are people who actually believe this stuff. Now, if I wanted to be a jerk, I can go to the same people and I could be like, and mind you, we're still, talking about what it's like to debate an atheist. I can go to them and be like, I don't believe that air exists. We're living in the matrix. Wow. Now I got a heck of a burden to meet, right? Because I made a positive claim. No, I don't. No, I don't. According to the atheist, when you're arguing about whether or not God exists or not, the burden's on you.
Okay, so I just checked my email and I just sent my lab mate an email that she should definitely have and she should have definitely read last week. We don't have class today, so goody. Tada says he is the worst ghost in the attic ever. No, Tada, you should refer to him as the spook at the door. I think that's more apt. You should definitely reference him as a spook at the door because lots of people will understand that reference, especially black people. You should definitely make that reference. Anyway, I keep fucking with it. I almost got him to say Nick Gurr. Have a shout out to Nick Gurr. He almost said it. I think I almost got Frank too. He was this fucking close. I was like, oh god, if he fucking said, I'm gonna die laughing. Oh wow. Oh, I'm gonna get one of you motherfuckers. Oh man. Anyway, a part of what I think that will sound super racist paired with my haircut. Yeah, that's the Spook at the Door is a name of a book. It's the name of a book about black people and race. Anyway, it's a reference of sorts. So anyway, here's what I would love to happen. I would love to have a platform where we kind of sit down and talk about these sort of things without Jackass here, Jackass here, because there is a disconnect. And I've spoken to Christopher Mowdy, the man, the mystery, the legend, and he sees the problems, he sees the cracks in having these types of discourses, and that many of us, including myself for the longest time, went with what Mowdy calls the deficit model, where idiots like this just have a deficit. They just don't know. And so if I take the knowledge and I just insert it into his pea brain, him will be okay. He gonna be fine. No, that's not it. He has information. I just Googled the same shit that he could, or YouTube Google, whatever, the same shit that he could. There's literally a live feed of the fucking Earth right now. The International Space Station has a goddamn camera. Now, I don't know about y'all. But I don't know do we have the current technology to CGI stuff in real time? If there's an actual hurricane or any type of weather system all around the world that you can CGI an entire fucking planet and then stream that, right? And somehow make it accurate enough that it corresponds with actual weather reports of people in the area and news stations, because that's a huge task. And for what fucking reason? Like just imagine how much money you would have to pour into something like that. And for what? What's the end goal? Right? So there's a live feed, I can pull it right now, of the International Space Station just going round and fucking round. Fast as hell. I don't know the speed, but it goes pretty fucking fast. Now, I don't imagine there's too much resistance where there's, not those gases. I hear that there's certain gas laws and stuff that's applicable down here that way up there where there's not really any gases. But anyway, not gases in concentrate. There's gases, but they're not. Anyway, the point being, look, there's a disconnect. The issue is cognitive bias. Because you can have all the information, but when you have little pea brain folks like this who don't understand that, well, you know what? When you start talking about some of this stuff, you do have to have a certain level of math literacy in order to get it. Especially when you're talking about physics. I love physics. That's just cool. I like it. Not my thing. Engineering, cool shit. A lot of stuff that we use. Engineers, hell yeah, ain't my thing. But guess what? You gotta be math literate. That's the one thing that connects them. You think I'm lying? You think I'm lying? You think I'm kidding? Chemistry. I like coffee and Kool-Aid just as much as everybody else. You know what? Guess who helped make that? Chemists. Guess what? They had to take the same class as I did. A lot of math. Not really any hard math, not math level, but if you're doing other anyway, if you don't understand that, if you can't comprehend that aspect of it, then there's going to be a disconnect, especially when you start talking, because if you notice that fucking Arcane, True Empiricism, Antonio at one point, Vecco, G-Man, all these cats that love to talk about this shit all fucking day long. You notice that none of them mention as evidence the mathematics involved in this stuff. They don't understand that is a part of the evidence. There is a void where they need to really comprehend that. The shit that Sam likes to talk about, bioinformatics. Now, mind you, he's dealing more with statistics. But guess what? if you remove the statistics, he can't do his fucking job. If you remove the calc and the trig and the shit from what Tatted does in his field, he can't do his fucking job. You can't negate that. You can't omit that and then talk about what the evidence is for this stuff. But it's easy in conversations. It's real easy. The shit that I do in the lab, guess what? I have to know at what millimolar concentration I need to put shit at. Because if I'm cutting cells, well, guess what? Those cells can only survive with a certain concentration of CO2. They can only survive with a certain concentration of antibiotic. They can only survive with a certain... I have to calculate that. I have to determine that. That's math. I'd have to calculate the confluency. That's a simple calculation. The growth curves, that's a simple calculation. It comes back to that. And that's always absent of all these conversations. So this is a big issue. This is a huge issue. You can't talk about evidence and negate one of the best pieces of evidence, the math portion.
The person that's making the claim that air exists, you got to be able to prove that air exists, and you can't prove a negative, right? So they'll sit there and look at you like you're retarded. They'll look at you like you don't know anything and whatnot. And they'll be like, well, do you understand what oxygen is? Do you understand what hydrogen is? Do you understand carbon dioxide? Do you understand the ecosystem? Do you understand that without oxygen, your body can't function properly and you will ultimately die after a couple of minutes, not getting the amount of oxygen that you need every day? Like, I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I believe that my real self is plugged up to a machine. And, I believe that this is all imagery. This is the matrix that we're living in. You know what I mean? That's what it's like arguing with an atheist. It's like arguing with...
Oh, man, that forced laugh. Man, you can tell when he has a good point when that forced laugh comes out. Woo, man. So, saying that you believe something is one thing. Being able to demonstrate is something completely different. And you should know that by now, G-Man. You should have been known that. You could say that you're cooked up. Let me tell you this, man. How about this? We put you in a vacuum, right? Let's put you in a room and suck out all the oxygen. We're gonna find out if you're actually connected to the matrix or not. We're gonna find out real motherfucking quick. After about 3 minutes, we're gonna find out something real interesting about this matrix claim. We can test that. We can test it. But while you're over here doing your little forced laugh, talking about people thinking you're a fucking idiot, well, that's demonstrable based on shit that you say, like this.
These people on whether or not air is real. It's like arguing with these people whether or not the earth is round. It's like arguing with these people on whether or not gravity is real. They'll come up with anything and everything to try to avoid coming to the conclusion that that the thing that you're saying is real isn't real. So my recommendation is, if you're going to have a debate with an atheist, and a lot of atheists are not going to like what I got to say here, but honestly and truthfully, it's your community's fault. I'm of the opinion that when you're debating an atheist, never believe their initial claim. Make them prove it. Don't believe that an atheist is being honest with you when they say that they don't believe that God exists. And there's a lot.
So I've told some of y'all before, those of you who've especially been watching for a while and have not just jumped on the drag bandwagon, I've said this for quite some time. And I probably need to repeat it just to kind of remind some of the newer folks. When you are talking to G-Man and you don't believe the bullshit that he believes, he thinks you're lying. There's no point in time that he actually accepts what you're saying. So that point-counterpoint bullshit, his little technique that he likes to employ, he does that because he thinks you're lying. It does not matter what type of evidence you have. It doesn't matter what you say. He thinks you are lying. And so, yeah, No, everybody from school want to fucking send me messages now. Like, y'all need to wake up earlier. So that's something. If you're gonna have a discussion with him, because that's his beginning point, right? One of the best things I love to do is to make as few claims as possible when I talk to him, because he goes into these conversations thinking that he knows every goddamn thing. He knows your position and his, and so all he has to do is just posture and bullshit long enough to show you that you're lying. Well, it's interesting if you actually avoid making claims, and I've done this before. He hasn't realized it. I have avoided making claims in one of my conversations with him. Yeah. My dear, I hope you did not just send this email to our professor. Holy shit. Yeah, you definitely. Please spell check the shit out of that. Jesus. Okay, that was terrible. That was almost G-Man level. Like if y'all think I'm mean to folks on there, I'm mean to people in real life. But what was I saying? Lost my train of thought. I've actually had conversations with this guy, and he's noticed it later, but I've avoided making claims, and then he started to try to debunk stuff that I had never said. And so he mistook it as me trolling, but I already knew that he was on a roll. He was, all you guys believe this, all you guys believe that. I didn't take up the positions. Some of the stuff I may have kind of sort of agreed with. I said, no, that's not really my thing, man. I can tell you my position. He already knows it. So his job is to try and debunk what he thinks that you're going to say. Meanwhile, if you don't actually say it, he has to coerce you into saying or adopting a position that you may not actually have. Now, it could be very accurate to some degree, but if you offer a bit more nuance, right? You couch it in some very specific terms. You know what? My standard, my burden of proof isn't like that of other people. So let me explain to you what it is. He can't understand that. He hasn't prepared for that. So he has to force you into another direction. But he has to coerce you into that and whatnot and everything and whatnot.
A lot of ways you can flush it out of them to prove it. Because 90% of the time, I'm not even going to say 99, 90% of the time, when an atheist is telling you that they don't believe that a God exists, it's the Christian God. Let me say this again. 90% of the time, you're having a debate with an atheist and they claim that there is no God. They're claiming that the Christian God isn't real. Christianity is one belief. Do you know how many different religions are out there where people believe in a plethora of different gods that atheists never reject as being real? You want to see something funny? Go do a YouTube search and go see how many videos where atheists are actively, I mean like every single day, making videos about paganism and saying that paganism isn't real.
I don't believe in them.
But we say that every time we say we reject a god or a gods. No, you don't. 90% of the time.
So y'all have to understand something about G-Man too. The man's not that well educated. I know that's a huge fucking shock to folks. I know that's mind blowing information. Okay, but like D. Cruz, all his information tends to come from YouTube. So if it's not happening on YouTube, he doesn't really know about it. That's it. So when you tell him that, you know what, I deal with the religion that most impacts my life, which would be Christianity here in America. In the UK, it might be Islam. They're more focused on that. He doesn't understand that. That's something, I know it's a huge shocker, that actually requires him maybe to do some reading, that may require him to go and search for information. He's not the best when it comes to that. I know. It's a huge revelation. But he hasn't picked up on that trend, that in, let's say, Sweden, in Britain, in other places of Europe, which I hear has a king now, or a president, but they focus mainly on Islam because that's what they see as an issue with encroaching upon people's rights, with certain other issues, right? But here in America and in certain other countries, Christianity is a fucking issue. So if the majority of people on YouTube are from the US, well, they're going to be targeting Christianity. I mean, it's not rocket fucking science. It's not. But all of his information comes from YouTube. But he can't take in all that information. He doesn't know that, again, in the UK, Christianity isn't the big thing. They've kind of moved away from that. They're more secular. And now Islam is seen as the encroaching force upon their rights and freedoms. But this is G-Man. His name is G-Man.
Majority of the time that you guys are talking about this, you're talking about the Christian God. And the sad thing is you're not even talking about Allah. You're not even talking about Islam. You're talking about Christianity. You're talking about the God of the Bible. As a matter of fact, let me name some of these religions for you that they totally ignore. I'll just name some of these for you, just some of them. Let me see something here. They don't want to deal with the paganism that's involved with Wicca, the New Age movement. They're scared to talk about Islam because they're afraid that something's going to happen to them. Let me see something here. There's Hinduism, various different pagan religions that these people refuse to try to prove that God doesn't exist. And you want to know why? Because once you start getting into paganism and you start understanding that people are worshiping objects like rocks and stone and wood, it's kind of hard to argue with those people since they use a different definition that Christians use. That's why for them, they're not against like all guys. They're only against the Christian God. As a matter of fact, I'll go so far to say that the majority of them are not even against Islam.
Yep. So he is under the impression that people aren't against Islam. That's interesting. That's very interesting. I think there's a lot of Canadians that would disagree with that, and a lot of people in good old Britain would disagree with that too. But this is G Logic for you folks. He's done his G research, put it through the G Logic processors, and out comes stupidity.
All right. And there's so many different ways I can prove that. It's not even funny. And a lot of these atheists think because I stopped talking about them, that they act like I can't prove those things. Not only can I prove them, I'm actually thinking about talking about these things again. Another reason why you guys shouldn't believe everything that come out of their mouth is because when they get something in their head, regardless of the evidence contrary to what they're saying, they actually believe it. You might notice in the back here, I don't have the green background I usually have behind me. I'll have it there later when I do the G podcast later today, if I do it. But I decided to do this as a reminder to the atheist community that I said I lived in a tent. I guess you guys are telling the truth about that too, right?
Ooh, you butthurt about that.
The atheist has an advantage over most Christians. I'll be straight up about this because this is true, and you're going to find out this the hard way if you don't take this seriously. Most of them have an advantage over us, and that is that they know most of the logical fallacies. And if you're going to debate an atheist, I would highly recommend you get to know these logical fallacies. As a matter of fact, I'm actually thinking about, it won't be a G podcast or something like that, but I think it's about time I started getting active again with really just exposing these folk. And when I say exposing them, I mean like a 2-3 hour show just talking about their baloney. But they have an advantage over you that they know the logical fallacies. And if you don't know how to make an argument against them without using logical fallacies, they're going to just harp on that instead of actually dealing with the topic at hand. So the advantage that you have against an atheist is your Bible knowledge. Most of them will try to convince you, for example, that they know the Bible better than you. And you might come to the conclusion that that's true because they're going to bring up certain questions that they have about the Bible, and they know what the verses are. I know in Christianity today, a lot of us don't study our Bibles the way we need to. So what happens is that because they know the Bible verses that they have, and they know where to go to find the Bible verse, and they know what to ask you, they can anticipate what you're going to say, they're going to use it as a reason to try to get you to doubt your faith. That's why a lot of people are atheists today. You know, person A went to person B. Person A is a theist, a Christian or whatever religion he was. Person B is an atheist. Person A goes to person B and tries to preach whatever message they have to person B. And person B says, I don't believe that because of this. And person A wasn't prepared. Now person A is walking away with his head down, doubting what he believed, what he or she believed, because they wasn't properly prepared. That doesn't happen to me because when I'm dealing with these people, I'm already in the know about what it is that they will try to argue against my faith. So what you need to make sure is that you have a good understanding of your Bible. You need to understand the book of Genesis. As a matter of fact, I would recommend.
An advantage that some of us have is knowing fallacies. You know what? That does come in handy. That comes in handy not for. Actually, you know what? This is a good point. This is a fuck your duel. I ain't dueling you. This is good for people kind of casually listening who want to participate in the debates. He is still living in the early ages of what we call the Ponage era of YouTube debate atheism bullshit. Okay, you'll even hear Shanny reference this because Shanny was hot shit during then. Take that however you want to, but like there's a definite era where this thing was just going on. I say this thing, people using philosophy as a bludgeon. And it's something that still kind of goes on, where the goal of understanding what a logical fallacy isn't so you can employ it in a conversation and beat somebody over the fucking head with it. It's so you, yourself, aren't making those mistakes. You can check your skills, your reasoning skills, making sure that you're not being illogical. That's what those are for. It's not for you to try and pull out the fallacy wiffle bat and beat somebody over the fucking head with it every time that you think that they're making a fucking fallacy. Because mind you, people can make fallacious arguments that are accurate about the world. You can do the classic, Socrates is mortal, Socrates is a man, the very simple introduction to logical syllogisms. You can fuck that all up and make every type of, how is Gary Potter doing? Fuck you, Sam. You can fuck that all up and make the worst non sequitur argument that you can make and still come to the conclusion that Socrates is a man and mortal. But this is something that G-Man still hasn't gotten. Like he hasn't progressed past that point. And so if you know some logical fallacies, ooh, man, you got one up. I know a few logical fallacies that it is an addict. There's a few logical fallacies. I almost said fallacies that Ozzy doesn't know, that I know. There's a few that I taught him. He was like, oh, okay, I didn't know about that. It's just, whatever. And yes, I got one up on Ozzy. Fuck Ozzy. So it's not that useful when you in the grand scheme of things. It's not a weapon for you to pull out. It is a skill that you can hone to help you. If you're going to sit here and memorize logical fallacies, then fine, do it. But do it in such a way that it is a way to keep yourself in check. But good old G-Man here doesn't seem to agree with that. It's an added bonus, yeah. He's using something rather than a wiffle bat. Well, you know what? Maybe he's like, so this image down here is actually, so for those of you who have heard me reference Kyle as Suge Kyle, here is Suge Kyle. There we go. Even Kyle has a sense of humor. So there you go. I'm gonna keep that around. That's actually a really good picture of Tupac and Snoop, old school Snoop. So there you go, folks. Suge Kyle. Oh, what's going on, Doc Rich? What's going on, man? I see you're awake.
I mean, if you're going to debate an atheist, make sure that you got a good hold of the Old Testament. Know the difference between the Old and the New Testament, especially if you're going to take on some of the smarter ones, all right? Because not all atheists got it up here. Some of these people are just dumb, all right? Then you got some of these other ones who know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. Some
I don't
of
know
them have actually
atheism,
read.
right.
Some of them have actually studied, and they looked for possible responses that you're going to make. So you need to have an understanding between
Look,
the Old
he's not
and the New
fapping,
Testament.
folks. That's just the delirium tremors. Okay, that's all it is.
Regarding your Bibles, if you're going to debate an atheist here on the internet about God's existence, you need to familiarize yourself with the different arguments that are here that have been used against them. I'm not saying that you have to copy these people and use their words word for word, but just come up with an argument that is comfortable for you. Not everybody can use the presuppositional argument. It took me a long time to learn how to incorporate that into my regular arguments, which is why a lot of them don't want to debate me no more. Because I won't use it for the majority of the debate, and when I feel like it's necessary, I bring into the conversation, start questioning their.
Look, if y'all have ever heard G-Man try and employ presup, it's the funniest shit that you'll ever hear. The presup argument, it's not even an argument, the presup script, you would say maybe let's say about 10 statements. He knows probably 3 of them, maybe 4 on a good day. After a certain point, they have to try and question foundationalism, which requires some knowledge of foundationalism. Not a huge fucking stretch of the imagination, right? He doesn't understand. He can't, once he gets to that point, he knows how to scratch the surface of what they're saying as far as questioning presuppositions. And well, when in reference to properly basic beliefs, I'll just say that, questioning properly basic beliefs, he doesn't actually know what they are, but he knows how to somewhat kind of reference that. But I had to find a video where he tries it. It's actually pretty fucking funny. It's, if y'all think that watching Sky Out was bad, Sky Out at least he understands. I have to keep stopping myself because I'm giving these guys too much credit. Sky Out is familiar with some of the terms. He doesn't actually know what they mean. G-Man is not even familiar with the terms. So if that lets you know kind of on a scale from Van Til to, roadkill, where they are, that gives you a bit of an idea.
Reasoning, how they're coming to their conclusions. If they read the Bible, like, I'll make them feel all comfortable, like they're making a point, and then whammo. Let's get into this now. Let's see what happens. And you'll be surprised. It's very, very effective, at least for me anyway. But familiarize yourself with the presuppositional argument. Some good channels that will teach you how to use that. Check out the Bible Thumping Weena. As a matter of fact, if you contact him in private, he might actually take time out to teach you how to use it. Look for Matthew 4:19, Side 10 Brudicate.
All great sources.
I don't remember the other ones that teach it. I don't even know if Arcane Logos even uses the argument no more. But if he still knows how to use it, go contact him. There's another guy by the name of
oh shit.
What your attitude should be when you're dealing with them. Whether or not we evolved. What conversation. Start questioning their reasoning, how they.
I accidentally moved it forward. So while the people that he named don't fuck with him anymore. Has anybody caught on to the? Yes, he's in an attic. He's back in an attic. He's a different attic, but he's still living in somebody's attic. So residing in someone's attic. God, he and Cheshire Vic need to get a room together. Peaceful house. So I'm petty. I'm petty as hell. Look, I'm petty. Okay. I'm Tom Petty. The people that he named don't fuck with him. Have y'all noticed that? He will go off and name. Arcane really doesn't fuck with him. Not like that. Have y'all noticed that? Because you hear what he just said. Well, if you contact him privately, he may teach you. he doesn't consider you part of the reverend. You can't even contact him and have him teach you. But you're suggesting other folks will. Man, that's interesting. Man, that's interesting. Woo.
They're coming to their conclusions. If they read the Bible, like, I'll make them feel all comfortable, like they're making a point, and then whammo. Let's get into this now. Let's see what happens. And you'll be surprised. It's very, very effective, at least for me anyway. But familiarize yourself with the presuppositional argument. Some good channels that listen but don't necessarily do everything that you see him do. He's really good with the argument, but he's got to learn to let people respond to him and not do all of the talking, because it looks like he's scared to hear the response or whatever. And it's starting to hurt our community rather than help it to a certain degree. And a lot of us Christians know this. Well, at least I do anyway. So, yeah, familiarize yourself with the arguments. There's the cosmological argument. There's a presuppositional argument. You can argue from intelligent design, I guess, but not sure that's the best argument. If you combine the intelligent design argument with another argument, the intelligent design argument can really shut these guys down quick. I mean, like, if you don't want to get into like a long, drawn out debate with them, like ending it quick, I would use a combination of a couple of these arguments at the same time if you're going to debate these atheists on whether or not God exists. And I'm speaking from experience. I've been on here for a minute arguing with these people, and I see what works and I see what doesn't. So you definitely want to pay attention to some people who have.
So there's a reason he is suggesting people do that. Some of y'all might find it strange. Well, why is he referencing precept and kalam and ID? G-Man can't actually argue from any one of them by itself. Like, he doesn't sufficiently understand any of them. He just knows what he hears, right? So he knows a little bit from what he's heard from Matt Bell putting forth kalam. He knows a little bit of what he's heard from Darth Dawkins and Bible Thumping Wingnut and Matt Slick and others on precept. He knows a little bit about ID because he's heard Nephi and True and a few others talk about it. He doesn't actually understand these arguments, folks. He doesn't. Drag, how the hell do you know that? I've asked him. That was one of my little innocuous questions that I was asking him about when we were in New York. But of course he doesn't remember that. Because I was curious. I didn't think that he did understand any of them. Because I noticed that he... What's going on,
Poor little G.
Poor little G. He doesn't understand the cosmological argument, kalam. He doesn't act... So if you were to ask him to sit you down and say, you know what, G-Man, I want to understand what the kalam cosmological argument is. Give me the syllogism that is going to lead me to your God. Just in its basic form. Very, very basic first mover, first cause form. He can't do that. If you were to ask him, well, G-Man, can you give me the design from intelligent design? Well, he can give you his understanding of it. A rough version. That's probably the one that he knows the best. But there is no sense of complete comprehension of what it's trying to get at. Other than, well, there's something out there that made everything. He knows the ending part. He knows how to kind of broach the topic. The stuff in the middle where you would kind of connect the two, not really. Not really. So that's why he suggests people combine them, because that's what he does. When he doesn't know one, he'll switch to the other because he tries to subway. he tries to segue into one of the others. So if he starts on kalam or he starts on precept, he'll subway into another fucking what. It doesn't matter. It actually is pretty funny to watch him do it because he can't tell you why the two are related, other than all three will try to get you to his God. That's the only thing that really that they have in common, really. Some of y'all missed him using the word subway for segue. It was funny. It's like kind of like Steve on Twitter using Segway, like the motorbike Segway. Yeah, if y'all missed that was fucking hilarious. Like, he actually said Segway. Segway. But he does not even know that I know the ID one because he says dogs can live 1,000,000 years. I see, Jim. I don't know if he's being facetious when he says that. I don't, because he has the same affect sometimes, so it's really hard to tell if he actually believes that. I'm willing to stand back and say I think he's just trying to be funny. Like when he says, people came from rocks, he doesn't actually believe that. He knows that that's not the argument. He just says that because he's trying to be mean. But Drag G-Tar will refer to Bat Bell for Kalam, right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, like it's, Matt Bell was one of the most well-known people for putting forth Kalam. He wasn't the only one, but if you were to reference the stuff that he talked about besides the morality thing, Kalam was his bread and butter. Every single conversation he would go to Kalam because he felt as though he could William Lane Craig it into just he'd battle it out with you because he was much more smarter.
Experience with dealing with these folk. Another advantage these atheists are going to have over you is over most Christians is going to be in science. Some of them are going to be a little bit more involved when it comes to the theory of evolution. Some of them are going to be a little bit more in the know about it because they spend a large portion of their day talking about it, thinking about it, trying to convince other people about it, and we don't. So what I would recommend you do, since they do have an advantage over most of us when it comes to that topic, is to spend a little bit of time listening to people who have dealt with them on this topic. The number one thing you better do is, even if it's the basics, go learn about evolution. Okay, go learn about evolution. Go learn about natural selection. Go learn about mutations. Go learn about macro and microevolution. Go learn what those terms mean. And try to learn as much about it as you can before you get into a debate with them. Strengthen yourself with a little bit of intelligent design. Make sure you understand the Old Testament, and you should do just fine with them. Whether or not God exists or whether or not we evolve.
Actually, some sage advice here, G-Man. You need to offer some more nuggets like this more often. Actually learn about the topic before you talk about it. Man, only if you do that more often. Cool. People should do that. Lots of people on the internet should do that. Actually learn a little bit about it before you talk about it. Such as going to satirical websites to try and debunk it. You see what I did there? It's funny because it's irony because you try to debate me on this topic and you use satirical website rather than actual evidence and yeah. Oh man, that's so cool, G-Man.
Ancestor with with a bunny rabbit or whatever. One of the things that you're going to experience when you debate an atheist, depending on your attitude, is going to be frustration. You're going to become frustrated when you debate an atheist, not because of how smart they are. It's because if you don't...
It's not. You will experience frustration, but it will not, G-Man made a point, it will not be because they are smarter than you. That's not it, folks. He said it. So do not tell G-Man that a lot of his frustration comes from the disparity between the intellect of the two people. One being him. It's not it. Just like D-Roy is definitely not a victim. He definitely doesn't have a persecution complex either. We believe that. We also believe that Steve McRae is innocent of any crime.
You don't have the right attitude going into the debate. And believe me, there are a lot of people, for example, that are their friends now that wasn't their friends 3 or 4 years ago. One of them is watching right now. And what I could do is I can actually show you where this person debated one of these atheists, not with a moderator or nothing like that, but just went back and forth with them a little bit. And you'll see what I mean by they'll get you frustrated. Like I said, they're armed with a decent knowledge about evolution, abiogenesis, the laws of the land, and they're armed with the logical fallacies. They tend to pay a lot of attention to that. and they already have their script. They already have their arguments that they're going to make against you, and they know where to go in the Bible to find these arguments. They know to go into Exodus for slavery. They know to go into the creation story in Genesis. They'll claim that there's 2 Ten Commandments. They'll claim a lot of different things. They'll claim a lot of different things in order to try to get you to walk away and to doubt your faith. That is their ultimate goal. It is not to come out of it believing in a God. Okay? What should your attitude be?
Thanks, Angry Roach. So now that's interesting. That's interesting. So he knows that people know where to go in the Bible to find arguments. You really don't hear me arguing Bible very much. Actually, it was only very recently when a conversation on what the fuck is his name today? Midnight. Whatever his actual channel name is, Little Fairy Pony Princess Athena, Zeus Joker Aries, I don't know. Whatever the fuck his name is today. I was talking to Aaron Benton a few nights ago, and we actually were discussing the Pneuma, the spirit, and all that bullshit. Sokka was there too. And that you really don't hear me talk about the Bible very much. I don't, that's not my wheelhouse, so I try to stay away from that. I say, well, why not? I've been drinking, it's late. I want to see how far this conversation goes, so I entertained it for a little bit. But G-Man does know that there are certain people, like Skylar Fiction, who actually knows, and Dr. Josh, know the Bible very fucking well, at least better than me. But you notice that G-Man said something pretty interesting here. He acknowledged exactly what I said earlier, where he thinks that logical fallacies are weapons. He thinks of them as weapons that you use in a conversation. He doesn't know that these are simply pitfalls in logic. He doesn't know that these are things that we've identified as issues with the way that people try to reason in a way. So that's something, and that should tell you guys something about. Remember the good old chocolate atheist scandal? G-Man knows that he can't actually sit down and understand what some of these formal and informal fallacies are, because in his mind, if you memorize just a few things, you just a handful of things, less than 10, because he only has so much RAM up here, then those few things will be good that he can kind of use them and shape them as needed. But there's like 50 something fallacies. No one's going to memorize them all. He's given up on that. In reality, there's only a handful of fallacies that will commonly come up in these types of conversations. Like the fallacy of relative privation. Not too many people. How many of y'all raise your hand in the chat if you've actually heard the fallacy of relative privation? I want to say that's what it's called. Relative privation. Yeah, that's what it is. How many of y'all have actually heard of that one? That's a common one that you'll find in political discourse. That's a very, very common one. You really won't find that one here. Not that often. Not very often. Common one that you'll find in these types of conversations are special pleading. Very, very common. Very common special pleading. So yeah, y'all learned something today. Relative privation. The one that you won't really find very often is very, very rare, that I've only seen probably 2 instances of, and this is by people who are dicks. The fallacy of 1,000 flowers. And again, I mentioned this earlier. There's one fallacy that Ozzy had never heard of, but you've probably experienced it, but you didn't know it was a fallacy. That's one that I know. So you're not going to memorize them all. There's no way for you to do it. Having an understanding of being charitable, right? How to think, not what to think, how to think will help you avoid them even without you trying to memorize them. But to G-Man, these are weapons. These are weapons. In the chocolate atheist thing, he was trying to make himself immune to the no true Scotsman fallacy. And he said this before, folks, and someone said it in the chat, G-Man tries to circumvent logic. Now, you can take that as charitably or uncharitably as you want to. It's quite clear that G-Man isn't going to sit down and understand some of these basic principles. He's not. He's too lazy for that, and he's too fucking stupid. So when he talks about these fallacies in this way, that reaffirms, it should reaffirm in everyone that he knows that he is not going to make logical arguments. He's not even going to try. He is simply going to put forth things and then say that, well, you memorize that. Well, so what? That's just, it's a logical fallacy. Well, that's just an argument. He doesn't understand that's a failure in being rational. Black Swan is that one. Aaron Benton. Black Swan is one that Aaron Benton is pretty too. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's Black Swan is an interesting one. That one actually will come up quite often, depending on the conversation. I usually when you're discussing more of the philosophical arguments for God and for what you are privy to as far as your experience, Black Swan will come up. Speaking of Aaron Benton, yeah. In relation to that, argument for incredulity. Argument for incredulity, that's a huge one. If you ever talk to Aaron Benton, he makes tons of arguments for incredulity. Almost everything that he will respond with. And this is not to just shit on, someone mentioned Aaron, but actually I think I mentioned him. But he is very, very well known for that. He doesn't actually understand what logical fallacies are, and he doesn't understand that that's a huge pitfall for his position. But over time, I'm sure he'll eventually realize that that's probably why his arguments aren't really having any impact, because it's clear. Like, everything is based off of his personal credulity. Hey, Drag, check out the video by Dave S. Oh, I know who that is, yeah. I don't remember the name of the fallacy, but it's used a lot in these theist arguments. Go and check it out now. Yeah, Dave S. I remember having lots of hangouts with Dave S. Dave S. actually has a video where he steelmans one of true empiricism's ID arguments, and it's a wonderful one. It's a circumcising logic, yeah. There's a wonderful video where Dave S. is steelmanning true empiricism's ID argument, and it was one of the last incarnations of True's argument. But if you actually sit through that video, Dave S. is showing you the syllogism in the way that true empiricism puts it forth. Mind you, true empiricism doesn't actually know how to make syllogisms. That's fine. But Dave S. is very charitable to him and says, this is not about the drama. This is me trying to understand your argument. And so I think Dave gives like two permutations of what the argument should look like to make it better. True empiricism blows him off. Just completely just whatever. And you're just about drama. Even though like Dave S. isn't about the drama. He isn't about, like, he enjoys watching like anybody else, but he doesn't really participate in it. I can't remember the name of this video, but it really showed me and a lot of other people that True could not get out of his own ass. Not for a fucking second. Could not bring himself to go, you know what? That's a very, very charitable interpretation, what I'm trying to say. I would like to talk to you some more about that because I want to use this form going forward. And then the conversation kind of begins there, right? That would have been a great starting point, because now you have an atheist making your argument better. And then if you don't think, you could just use it and discuss it amongst other Christians. Completely blew them the fuck off. So, that's when I hear some people talk about what's drama and what's not drama. Drama, anytime you hear the word drama, is things I don't like hearing. That's if you replace, when certain folks, hi Steve McCrae, say drama, replace it with things I don't like to hear. It makes more sense. True and Nephi are up. Nephi has always argued from his personal credulity. Always. That he has not changed that in the last decade. That's why he's not really worth talking to.
Or a lot of atheists are not going to like me on this one, but it's true. At least for the people who are trying to win these people to Jesus Christ. We got some Christians out there that could care less if they come to faith. But if you're trying to win them to Christ, you need to understand when you go into a conversation with them, do not go into the conversation to try to convince them of anything. And if I actually do this show that I actually want to do, I can assure you or something, I'm going to get into detail about that.
Right? Oh shit, details.
But don't try to convince them of nothing. Plant your seed and allow God to, and this is scripture. You see,
G-Man, who planted their seed in you? I want to meet him.
Holy Spirit is the one that goes out there, and he's the one that convicts the world of sin, righteousness, and judgment. It is our goal to convey the message. And be prepared, because some of them might decide, hey, you want to know what? What this person is saying is true. Let me come to faith in Jesus Christ. Most people are going to hear what you got to say, and they're going to laugh at you. They're going to think you're retarded. They're going to think that there's something wrong with you. And then they're going to claim that that's not what they're thinking. So you really need to be on your toes when you're dealing with a YouTube atheist. And once you start debating them, they do become the easiest group out there to debate. In my opinion, they're a lot easier to debate than the Hebrew Israelites, is the Muslims. They're easier to deal with than any one of these other religions that are out there. They really are. Once you understand what your attitude should be when you're dealing with them, what your goals should be when you're talking to them, and making sure you're prepared to hear every criticism under the sun about your faith. Because contrary to what your pastor may be telling you, not everybody likes Christianity. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be doing a video like this similar in the future on my main channel, because I've gotten a couple of requests from some parents, because there are teenagers. By the way, if you're watching, you know who you are. There are some teenagers who are going to school and have atheist friends, and they don't know how to respond to their atheist friends. So I'm starting to see a need to do a show with these atheists and about the atheists anyway, and to show you guys how to respond to them. And you'll be surprised.
You notice that he had to catch himself there. He had to catch himself. I need to do a show with these atheists. No, G-Man knows better. And hi, G-Man, I know you're watching. G-Man knows better. He knows that when people find videos of me and him, people aren't going to listen to him. He knows that, folks. He actually does know that. So if he can keep the kibosh on any other challenging views, right, and then just have a platform where it's just him talking and misrepresenting folks, then that works for his goal. G-Man has no problem misrepresenting folks and lying. G-Man has no problem misrepresenting folks and lying. G-Man, I'm making this very clear. You can get mad at this all you want, little man. G-Man has no problem misrepresenting people and lying. So, now go run to your boyfriend's that. But G-Man, you know what's it'd be really interesting if I don't know, what is it called? The metadata, with the tags, whatever. If the tags underneath your videos magically appeared in some of the videos that I have where I debunk what you're saying. That'd be so weird, having folks kind of go and search for your stuff and they end up finding mine too. That'd be so weird, huh? Wouldn't it? Oh my goodness. It's almost like I've been doing that shit for a while. It's not really hard to go look at the source, the view source in your videos, doing Control F, typing in a very special word where I can see exactly what you tagged your videos with. Holy shit, Dragnot, you scoundrel. You dastardly dick. Man, 4-dimensional chess with a goddamn pigeon. I look forward to those videos, G-Man, because the second that you do those videos, guess what the fuck I'm gonna do? Why do you think I've been saying this entire time, G-Man, that I don't actually need you to be in the room with me? You thought I was just saying that to posture? You thought I was just saying that to be a dick? No, I don't. Same thing with D-Roy. Y'all really don't know how to play the game very well. You don't. You don't understand how to play the game. I do. At least a little bit. And then somebody else on another side of YouTube is going to learn that I know how to play this game very, very well. Once they figured out a few things. Oh, it's going to be fun. Oh, I love making references to stuff that no one knows what I'm talking about, so I can reference it later when shit happens. This is fun. So fucking fun. It's Pledge Week, folks. Pledge your fealty to the Dragon Lord. Some of you have found out that I have an uncanny ability to figure things out and to be able to predict people's actions. Man, it's not fucking psychic, folks. A lot of these people are just fucking stupid. That's honestly what it is. They're just fucking stupid. Yes, I was a combat medic. Did y'all know that?
How much freedom you will get once you get this thing out of your head that you need to convince them right then and there. Plant your seed. Trust God that God is going to work in these people. You'll be shocked and surprised how far it goes. I'll tell you this. There was a couple of times I wanted to quit YouTube, even before I even started like making the video saying, guys, I'm leaving YouTube. And then I leave for a little while and I come back. Before I started making those videos, when I started dealing with the atheists, I used to get frustrated. And I'd be like, off air, and I'd be like, you want to know what? I'm not gonna be dealing with these people no more. I'm gonna get off of here. I can do more work doing street evangelism, which is true.
Y'all do know that when he actually did do this a few times. Look. I'm not gonna pretend like he's quit as many times as fucking Brett Keane. Nowhere near that many amount. There's probably only a handful of times he's actually done that. There's maybe three, maybe four, right, at the most, that he's actually done that. One of the most recent times, well, see, he has a kind of quite a bad habit of, when he gets really frustrated, he'll start crying. Dragna, how can you say that? Oh, no, how do you know that? Well, it's really interesting if you look at the time frame of certain videos that he's made. The last time that he said, not the Shanny stuff, before the Shanny stuff, the stuff with the people he's now defending on his other channel, the defending Vocab Malone, the defending Shield Squad, that whole ordeal. Y'all remember that? Did y'all remember the videos? I said, guys, I'm crying. I can't trust nobody anymore. And fucking crying. I'm going to leave YouTube. I'm not going to come back. He was crying. His voice was cracking because he just got done yelling at people on the phone. Drake, how do you know that? Well, if you actually go to Blog Talk Radio and you hear from the other side of what happened, they actually tell you. And I had one of them on my channel where they actually told you what really happened. Whoop. There's no oral presentation. They stop it, phone. So yeah, he's crying in the fucking video. So when he gets real frustrated, he starts fucking crying. I don't have to make anything up here. Sorry, folks. The proof is in the pudding. You hear from the people who are actually there. So he gets upset. Him sad. He gets frustrated. Okay. All this stress has caused poor true empiricism not to be on camera anymore. He's self-conscious about the way that he looked. That's okay, true. Yes, some of us saw that picture of you from a few years ago, True. Good on you. Get swole. Good on you, True. But man, oh man, does G-Man like to get on here and posture. That's not a good look, my man. That's not a good look. He is sensitive. He's a little, like, he's like 5'3", 5'4". Like, he's a little guy. He's a little guy. Okay? That little frame, that tiny physique can only hold so much anger, okay? It comes out in the form of water. That's all. That's it, okay? When you have the Spirit of God in you and you get frustrated, sometimes it just leaks out in the form of tears. A little bit of water, a little bit of salt, urea, whatever. Maybe an STD every so often. But it happens, okay? You folks need to understand.
True. I can actually do more damage actually going outside and traveling from church to church and doing public speakings and whatnot, more so than I do on YouTube. I can do a whole lot more damage doing that if I chose to do that. A lot of people don't understand the power in that because you're face to face. Now you don't got the computer in front of you to try to help you answer everything. You have to know your stuff, But what was I going to say? I went off on a rabbit trail. Many of these, okay, I know what I was talking about now, the teenagers that was in school. Some of the things that they're saying is, their mom said, their dad said, I don't see no proof that God exists. They're coming on YouTube and basically seeing the arguments, and then they're bringing those arguments to school and are trying to convince their friends that there is no God. But at the same time, and I can tell you this from experience, there are some teenagers that are watching theist videos as well, and they know how to respond to a lot of those people as well. I don't think that's a point I wanted to make, but if you're going to debate an atheist, you need to be prepared. You have to have a basic grasp of your Bible. You need a basic grasp of your Bibles. You better know the Torah. And I'm not saying that you need to know every line. No. What I'm saying is a lot of the criticisms you're going to hear about the God that you serve is going to come from the Old Testament. How can it immoral? That was immoral. How he killed all these people? Why didn't he just why did he create them if he knew he was going to act that way? Those are the kind of questions that you're going to have to deal with when you're dealing with atheists. And there are real answers that you can give them regarding that. I can give you answers to deal with them where you don't have to have a back and forth with them. You can make them do most of the talking, or I can give you straight up answers and don't give them the answer in the hopes that they will change their minds. Give them the answers in the hope that a seed has been planted and God will deal with them. It happens online all the time. I have seen a lot of them drop arguments like that. They used to say, for example, that Christianity was a mental illness. They know better now. I can assure you of that. Or a plethora of reasons. I have a G-Man versus the world, as a matter of fact. Well, we talked about that for at least 2 hours. Never heard the top. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There was a guy named Forbidden Fruit, and he talked about it, and then the atheist community dealt with him. Because they understand how dumb of an argument that is. But he tried to convince everybody that that Christianity was a mental, that theism or Christianity was a mental illness. He was a militant atheist. That's another thing that you need to understand before you debate a lot of these atheists, that there are different types of atheists out there. Not everybody's a jerk in the atheist community. You have, from what I understand, according to them, I'm being a little respectful today because I have my own opinions about this, but you have weak atheists, strong atheists.
So, did y'all notice something when he's depicting different positions of different atheists? Now he's going to be him being respectful is him being charitable. Did y'all catch that? He won't be honest to the best of his ability. He won't actually accurately depict things unless he respects that person. So he will, by default, he will be dishonest. At least that's the way that I interpret that. There's only a handful of people who even remember Forbidden Fruit. Now, he's heard me make jokes to Sokka about that. That's why he's referencing that. Y'all have not heard him talk about that before, have you? That's because he's been watching my shit when I joke with Sokka count. So, again, G-Man, you kind of let us know what you watch when you make these references. You've not actually talked about that before. So, what's interesting here is that G-Man will not be charitable to you, to anybody who disbelieves, unless he wants to be respectful. Oh man, that's interesting. Whether you respect somebody or not, you should probably at least accurately depict whatever it is that they're saying or doing. There's a lot of folks I don't respect, but that shouldn't play a role with how I depict them as far as what they've actually said. Somebody can be an asshole, but maybe the reason that they're an asshole is because of what this is, X. Instead of me saying Y, that might give people the wrong impression that they aren't what I think they are. You know, it's a weird way that he processes these things, folks. I wish I could tell you more about how he, like how the P brain of his works when you put it through the G logic processor and it just turns things to shit. But that to me is an interesting statement. His ability, or I guess willingness, not ability, his willingness to be accurate with things that you say or things that you do, your positions, who you are, whatever, it doesn't matter. He is not actually willing to be honest unless he wants to respect you in that moment in time. That's very interesting, G-Man. To me, that's a tacit admission that I would say by default that you're probably dishonest. Probably dishonest most of the time. But this has been demonstrated. G-Man has no problem being dishonest. So we're going to do something fun, folks. You got an opportunity to win. Let's say 50 points. We'll do 50 points this time. 50 points. I'm going to play some lo-fi hip-hoppity, some hippity hops. And then we are going to continue on. So let's get this going. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for this? If it switches, there we go. All right. Need to move this should Kyle thing down. Okay, all right. All right, so the question is going to be, folks, and this is if you've only been recently introduced to G-Man, you're probably not going to get this one. But as always, the majority of the people have to get this right. So, who has G-Man openly admitted to losing a debate to? And I should probably edit that word. Okay, yeah, I misspelled that. According to G-Man, who has beaten him in a debate? Thunderfoot's not an option, folks. That one's a common one that he's mentioned a few times, but this other person is someone else he's also mentioned less than Thunderfoot. That's why this one's challenging. Options are DPR, myself, Live Life, Lee Lemon. All right, let's see what the poll is. Let's see. Poll. Okay. Let this go. It's almost 4 minutes. So, Dragnot, the question is wrong. He never debates. He tell you your position and then defeat it. Yeah. He'll tell you what your position is, because that's definitely how you debate with somebody. So, let's see. Let me. That almost X out of the wrong window. All right, so about 4.5 minutes. Anybody else? I'm giving you guys opportunity. I'm giving you an opportunity. Right now, there's a lot of y'all watching. There's actually only been out of the 4, so y'all know that he's never admitted to being defeated by me ever. He's never going to do that. So you know it's not me. Some of y'all don't even know who Live Life is, to be fair. Because nobody has actually voted for me or Live Life. So it's either DPR or Lee Lemon. All of the above. Yeah, no. All right, it's 5 minutes. Let me close. Complete it. And sorry, folks. Some of y'all had it. Y'all almost had it. It's not DPR. It's Lee Lemon. It is Lee Lemon. Y'all almost had it. I left it open for about 30 more seconds that I wanted to, just to try and get some more people, because y'all had it at the very beginning. I was like, oh, okay, some people know. And the funny thing was, folks said it in the chat. Folks voted, and then other folks who for some reason didn't vote put it in the chat. It was Lee Lemon. Yes. Lee, yeah. So some of y'all knew, because Lee he thought he was going to date Lee Lemon. So he was willing to admit that he didn't do so well. He was willing to support her channel and all. It was terrible. It was terrible. Man, he was trying hard. It was actually kind of sad how hard he was trying with her. But anyway, yes, Lee Lemon.
Atheists, militant atheists, and now we have positive atheists. Okay. Okay. Then you got evangelical atheists who kind of do what Christians do, except they want to take away your faith from God because they believe, politically speaking, that the laws in this country will change if they can get you as a Christian to change your mind. Not fully understanding how much power Islam has in this country. Not understanding how powerful pagans are in this country now. Not because Christians we understand full well who's running this place, and that it is not Christians. It's funny hearing these guys say, oh, it's evangelical Christians run the government. No. Anybody can go in the White House and say I'm a Christian. I'm sorry. Anybody can go in here and say that.
Now, those of you who are at least somewhat politically savvy, if you were to challenge G-Man to name who our vice president is, or anybody in the House, minority leaders, who is a House Speaker, anything like that, the things that he's trying to reference, he couldn't fucking tell you. Okay, he has no idea. Other than President Trump, he doesn't actually know anything past that. And feel free to go Google it after this and then say that I'm lying. But G-Man, you've never actually referenced them outside of what other people have said. So when folks say, you know what, Ted Cruz is a goddamn fucking Christian dominionist, and Mitch McConnell here has lost his goddamn mind for a variety of reasons, there's reference to these people stating that their religious beliefs inform certain views that they have on a particular political topic that has certain implications for the rest of America that may be disconcerting. But here, G-Man doesn't believe that they're actually Christian because, mind you, the only true Christians is the one on this screen right here. This one, right here. The only true Christian right there. See a little shit-eating grin? Only G-Man and the select people that he has acknowledged are true Christians are the real Christians. Mike Pence, Mitch McConnell, Ryan, what's his fucking face, whoever. They aren't real Christians. Only this idiot. And the people that he nominates as being real Christians. That's it. If you've ever listened to the stuff that this guy has said, you'll find that to be very interesting. It's only people he likes. Or people who are useful for his narrative. Interesting how that works.
Okay, anybody can go in here and say that. Barack Obama talked about his Christian faith 1 minute and then talked about his Muslim faith the next minute. Donald Trump got on there. What did he say on the election campaign that nobody reads the Bible as much as he does? Are we supposed to forget Mr. Trump's how Mr. Trump was behaving before he got in the White House?
There's that forced laugh again.
Oh my God. Anyway, so just because these people call themselves Christians don't mean they are. I believe that Trump and a lot of these other people that are in politics today, not all of them, but a lot of them are Luciferians. That is the religion that these secularists need to be worried about, because this particular brand of Luciferianism is theistic. It is not atheistic.
Really?
And they actually believe that the God of the Bible exists.
Wait a minute. Hold on a
They
minute.
also believe the devil exists.
What?
More on that later. But
I don't believe
not
you.
today, by the way, in some future video or something like that. But yeah, you had better make sure that you got a good understanding of that Old Testament, because they're going to bring up a lot of stuff in hopes to make you doubt what it is that you actually believe.
You got the audacity.
I didn't say sexy atheists. I said positive atheists, evangelical atheists, weak atheists, strong atheists, and militant atheists. The militant ones are the biggest jerks, because the militant ones are the ones that are willing to do anything and everything to try to get rid of theism in this country. It was militant atheism that, in my opinion, mixed with political views, that Joseph Stalin basically used to destroy, to kill a lot of people over there.
Wait a minute. Hold on a minute.
Kill a lot of people over there in communist Russia. And of course, if anybody disagrees with me on that, feel free to contact me for a private one, not a private one-on-one, but a one-on-one live, and we can talk about it.
Yes.
I can defend my position on it. I can assure you of that. And no,
You
I don't
can't
need to
do
listen
that.
to Dr. Kent Hovind or nothing like that to get an argument for it. I think it's common sense. Joseph
Really?
Stalin was an atheist.
Really?
Right? And his atheism played a large role in what you've seen actually happen over there.
I don't believe you.
If you're going to debate an atheist, we need to talk about this. You should probably spend more time talking about morality than you do on whether or not he actually exists.
You don't have a basis for your morality.
We'll get into why a little bit later in this video, because I believe that they already know that he's real. And that goes into the presuppositional argument. Morality is the key to getting a lot of these people to change and to get them to take a good hard look at themselves, because a lot of these atheists believe that they're good people.
Yes.
Hundreds of them have come to me and have gotten mad at me and have said, how dare you say that, atheists are bad people? They've actually said this to me. Before I learned how to actually argue with them, I used to say, well, I believe that we're all sinners, and I used to go with that kind of conversation. Now, what I do with them is I say something along the lines of this. Well, can you define for me what a good person is? Across the board? Well, that's subjective. Okay, so let's talk about you then. What's a good person? And then when you listen to their response, and if the Holy Spirit is living inside of you, it's really easy to point out to them why they're not what they say they are.
Really?
For example, a good person is not going to mock the person who created them. A good person isn't going to lie about people who believe that a God exists. Good people don't do that. Good people don't create rumors about people that are not true.
Butt hurt.
I have
Butt hurt.
an Encyclopedia Britannica, like the whole entire volume set that can fit in a mansion of reasons on why I don't believe atheists are good people.
What?
You let me talk about that topic, we will be here until tomorrow. We'll be here for a very, very, very long time.
Butt hurt.
If you're going to debate with them about morality, one of the things you have better remember when you're dealing with these people is you need to make sure that they first give you a basis for what is right and wrong before you go forward with them.
Yes.
Because without a basis, they don't got a pot to pee in to tell you what a good or a bad person is, or what a good or evil deed is.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting little analogy he gave there. Did y'all hear what he just said? Yeah, I caught the Encyclopedia Britannica. I guess that's mine. Britannica. Did y'all catch something that he just? It's something very small. Something very small. They don't have a pot to pee in. How many of y'all caught that? What's interesting is that, have y'all ever heard him say anything like that before? Have y'all ever heard anyone, especially those of y'all who've been watching me for quite some time, have y'all ever heard me say, when I'm describing someone who really doesn't have anything mentally or literally, they don't have a pot to piss in nor a window to throw it out of? If put your hands up in the chat if you've heard me say that before, and then explain that that's a saying that I got from my mother. Not having a pot to piss in. Yeah, oh, there Kiefer remembers. Now, how many of y'all ever heard him say that before? Before I actually said that. This is funny. This is one of those times where it's clear that he's been watching me, because I don't say it that often, but I've said it a few times before. And I don't say it at the beginning, folks, of my videos. You remember me saying, yeah, a few of y'all remember me saying that, and then explaining I got it from my mother. That's interesting, G-Man. You're still taking some of my family sayings. Man, that's cute. If you're going to say it, G-Man, say the whole thing. They don't have a pot to piss in, nor a window to throw it out of. My goodness, I need to text my mother and say this idiot is taking our sayings. We don't own that saying, obviously. It's a very, very old adage, but man, that is you heard of the Indian in the cupboard? Well, have you heard of the idiot in the attic? Elf on the shelf? Do we know if his willy fluid is cleared up? I think so. I sent him an email about his dick fluid. He hasn't responded to that yet, so, you know.
Like, a lot of them like to call me a liar. I'll use myself as an example. Then I'm going to use another Christian that you all know here online. I'm called a liar and what am I called? A liar and a horrible person all the time. And I keep asking them, what is the basis for their morality to judge me? You know, I don't get an answer.
Yeah, because that has nothing to do with you lying. That has absolutely nothing to do with you lying. That's you trying to obfuscate. You have lied. And we've demonstrated. Perfect example. Perfect example when you said that Fiona was cheating on her husband. That is factually wrong. It's still factually wrong. It has nothing to do with your basis for morality. Nothing at all. But you know that you're a fucking liar. In fact, G-Man, since you want to go there, how about this, G-Man? Because I know you watch it. Do you want me to contact certain folks to ask them if they've confronted you about lying? Mind you, people that you used to associate with who are Christian. Do you want me to contact them and ask them, have they discussed it with at any point in time, G-Man, that you have a bad penchant for lying? Because if you want to play this game, we can play this game. Because if the people who have the same basis for morality as you say that you're lying, then that goes that little smoke screen. So please, because I love when you do this. I love because you don't really understand that people see right through you. But let's play this game, G-Man. Let's play this fucking game.
And when I do get an answer, it's empathy. And I'm serious, guys. It's empathy. You know, this ability to be able to identify what a person is going through, right? And the way I respond to that, and it's gold, is simply to ask them, where's my empathy?
Where's the pity for G-Man, folks?
Some of them will literally tell me I don't deserve it.
You don't.
Without having a moral basis to be able to say something like that.
My subjective opinion.
Once you show them that empathy, that what they call empathy is really selfishness, you know what I mean? And them
empathy is selfishness.
Acting like their own deity. Honestly, the conversation's over.
He's hurt, folks.
They can't judge you without using this, without using a Bible. They need a Bible. They need to be able to go in here so you see God said that you can't lie. God said that you can't steal. God said that this is wrong, that this is wrong. If you're arguing that way, I accept what you have to say. But you can no longer say that this is a comic book. And that this does not have any valid. This is not a valid
is
source of information. Folks. And by the way, if I do my show, that's one of a whole bunch of different arguments you can use against them when they try to argue that you're a horrible person and that this is a comic book. No, it ain't. They use this every single day to judge you every.
Now look, you notice how he changed the argument from G-Man, you have not stated the truth, to, oh, you know what? Does God exist? Well, hold on for a second. That's nothing to do with your God claim, because people can be wrong on both accounts, and both of them are independent of one another. But the Bible being a comic book versus G-Man, you do not tell the truth, are two separate, completely separate topics. Absolutely separate topics. But you notice that he tried to meld them into one. This is how G-Man avoids criticism, like certain other folks do. You create that narrative. And it just hope people just kind of acquiesce to it. It's fine. It's whatever. No one's going to question it. That's not how that works, G-Man. Sorry. That's not how that works.
Every day. They don't got any other creeds they can use. They're not using the Quran. They're not using anything else. They have to use the Bible. They know that when it comes to morality, this is the only thing that we respect. You had better know what the Bible says about slavery. You had better know what the Bible says about rape. You had better know what the Bible says about the flood. You had better know what the Bible says about the resurrection. You had better know what the Bible says about what Jesus actually taught and what he didn't teach. You had better know, what was the other topic in the Old Testament? You had better know something about the Tower of Babel. You had better understand the difference between exegesis and eisegesis, between metaphors, and when to take something literally in the Bible and when is something meant to be a metaphor or something to be symbolic or whatever. You had better make sure you know where those things are if you're going to debate an atheist.
You notice he placed an emphasis on understanding figurative language versus literal language. Methinks that he struggles with that, don't you? Wouldn't most folks know that, well, if you're discussing any text at all, that's kind of an implicit thing that a lot of us do? If someone is speaking metaphorically versus literally, like you shouldn't have to tell people that. But notice that he makes that's a sticky note. Put a pin in that. That's something he struggles with. As I've said before, folks, this is a bit of a tacit admission that I'm right. He doesn't actually understand figurative language. He doesn't.
You can look at it like this. When you're debating an atheist, it's like, picture, okay, some of you Christians out there are good at debating Muslims. Take every argument Islam has ever made against Christianity. That's what the atheists are going to say to you. On top of that, every argument that Jehovah's Witnesses made against Christianity, every argument that the Hindus made against Christianity, every argument the 5%ers made against Christianity, every argument that every other religion has ever made against Christianity, an atheist is going to come with a Santa Claus bag and try to use all of those arguments against you at the same time. That's why you got to familiarize yourself with certain things. Apologetics is no joke, and you need to understand what you believe, why you believe it, and you need to make sure that you can defend it if you're going to take on an atheist on the internet.
That's really interesting. I've not heard atheists argue from a Muslim perspective on whether or not the Bible is accurate. That's really interesting, seeing as though Muslims actually do agree largely with the Bible and actually do study the Bible. So do Mormons, for that matter. They have their own Bible too, but that's fine. But it's really interesting because in G-Man's mind, in his mind, these things all coalesce together. Why would he think that I would argue from a Muslim's perspective when I don't believe that there's a God, right? If I'm trying to convince you that that there's no God, why would I bring up, Muhammad being a prophet of like that? Because that's something that is put forth, right, by an adherent of Islam. That's weird. Why would you think, G-Man, that I would even remotely argue from any position that they would hold? It would almost seem like that's just bullshit. But we get a glimpse, like stuff like this. Think with his tidbits of advice, you get a glimpse in on how he views these things. Mormons are not Christians. They aren't even people. They're evil. That's what they are.
So what is it like to debate an atheist? In all honesty, it's like, how can I say this without being too disrespectful? When it comes to science, it's like debating, how can I put this? A really hard-headed person. No, as a matter of fact, if you can picture this old guy who's stuck in his ways, debating an atheist is like debating a person who's stuck in their ways and is extremely hard-headed and will deny the fact that you're holding a pen in front of their face. That is what it's like debating an atheist in school, on the internet.
I'm trying to get that screenshot, folks. Hold on.
Or anywhere.
Yeah.
The fact that you're holding a pen in front of
There we go. I think that's a wonderful screenshot. Oh, man, that's beautiful. Oh, man. Whew. Add this to the Simpleton Gary meme. Oh, man. Doc Savage is the old guy stuck in his ways, folks. Just so y'all know. Yes, I think I'll put this in Discord, and whichever one of y'all wants to turn this into a meme, I'll display it somewhere down here or over there somewhere. We're gonna do the Simpleton Gary challenge. All right, best meme wins. We get to vote. I'll make a poll. You can vote on it. All right, how about that? Folks? I think that's fun. This is around the 38, 36 timestamp, but we're going to go ahead and leave it off right here. It's about 2 hours, and we've gotten 40 minutes into this, whatever he calls this thing. Probably finish up the next piece later today. Actually, maybe do it later this week. Our good friend D-Roy Cruz has unsubscribed from me, so he doesn't know how to actually check to see if I've made videos, and he doesn't know that I've made videos towards him, so he may upload something later tonight. Who knows? But yeah, so for now, we're back on Simple Gary. So on that note, folks, I think I'll play us out. I think that's what I'll do.
The announcement is this: I'm going to be doing a Google Hangout next Friday, not today, but next Friday, and that particular Google Hangout will be focused on primarily one thing. I'm asking everyone to bring their own personal rap to this particular Google Hangout.
I'm gonna expose myself on YouTube. I'm gonna make a YouTube video embarrassing myself.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, I got to tell you about the fabulous, most groovy
G-Man.
You know you're breaking the law right now.
I will stomp a mud hole in you, sir.
I am not playing, Dragnet.
My name is G-Man.
You got the audacity. You're going to jail. You got the audacity.
My name is G-Man.
You got the audacity. That's all I got to say. You got the audacity. I stole $3,000. You got the audacity. You got the audacity. Because you don't got no evidence.
My name is G-Man. My name is G-Man.
So big can this guy be?
My name is G-Man. My name is G-Man.
You can't beat me in fighting. You can't beat me in chemistry. You can't beat me in biology. You can't even walk better than me. You can't outrun me. Dude, you can't even out-talk me. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey City.
G-Man.
You got the audacity. You're going to jail. You got the audacity.
My name is G-Man.
You got the audacity. That's all I got to say. You got the audacity. I stole $3,000. You got the audacity. You got the audacity.
G-Man.
So big can this guy be?
My name is G-Man. G-Man. My name is G-Man. G-Man.
You can't beat me in fighting. You can't beat me in chemistry. You can't beat me in biology. You can't even walk better than me. You can't outrun me. Dude, you can't even out-talk me. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey City.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Preaching to the Choir Ministry.